Football is a simple game. 22 men chase a ball for 90 minutes and at the end, Bayern always wins. Bayern look unstoppable at the moment and they look like they're walking the Bundesliga. But is it really good for the league? Bayern are currently top of the Bundesliga by 5 points, and they'll still be top at the end of this weekend, regardless of what happens. But the team in second place, they beat 6-0 on the opening day, while last weekend they walked over Bayer Leverkusen, beating them 3-0 with very little trouble. Well, the same can be said for their 3-0 win against Eintracht Frankfurt earlier in the season. Add to this big wins against Hamburg, Werder Bremen, Hoffenheim and Borussia Mönchengladbach, and this means this has left Bayern with a 100% record in the league. Well, 100% record in every single competition. And as of right now, you can comfortably say that the title race is 80% over. The only reason it's not higher is because we're still in the early stages of this season. And so to answer the question, which is the title of this video outright, no. It's not good for the league. Although judging a league based on its competitiveness of the title race and forgetting the other aspects such as the battle to avoid relegation kind of defeats the point of competitiveness. Or if you also include the fact that other teams beating other teams, for example. But obviously the title race still is a big part. But this season the relegation battle in the Bundesliga looks to be a close affair. While in the European places the clubs are seemingly closer than ever before. But casual fans won't see that, as they only care about what happens at the top. And so obviously if you want to grow a league internationally, you need competition at the top. It's that simple. But as of right now, there isn't any. Bayern are a completely different level to the rest of the teams, and it does make the league boring when it comes to what you want to hope happens at the top. I mean, some of the best Bundesliga campaigns in the past few years have been ones that went down to the wire, regardless of if Bayern actually won or not. I mean, 2022-23 saw the title go to the final day between Dortmund and Bayern, with the final game seeing plenty of twists and turns that everyone wants in final day drama. I mean, Stuttgart's title win in 2007 went down to the penultimate game of the season, and in 2001, Bayern won the title with literally the last kick of the season. And so even if Bayern are, obviously they've won 12 of the last 13 league titles, and even if they had that same record but they were pushed to the final day each and every time, the narrative would probably be completely different. But the worst thing about this Bayern dominance is the fact that nothing is going wrong behind the scenes. So as a neutral, okay, Bayern are winning all the time, but usually with Bayern winning all the time, there's always something going wrong behind the scenes. But that hasn't happened now. I mean, 2023, for example, when it went to the final day with Dortmund, Julian Nagelsmann was sacked. Oliver Kahn and Hasan Salihamidzic were sacked after they won the title. Manuel Neuer broke his leg while skiing. While times before that, for example, you had Joshua Kimmich refusing to get a COVID jab, then proceeding to miss several games with COVID. Even with this Bayern dominance, there was always something in the background that would kind of keep it interesting. But that's not the case. It's just quite robotic and quite boring. But obviously the caveat for this season especially is Bayern are more than likely the best team in Europe at the moment. I mean, they beat PSG and were quite dominant ahead of PSG. But we know Arsenal, like, looking at who they've played that are actually difficult opponents. Liverpool they lost, Manchester City they drew and needed a late goal. Atletico Madrid, granted they beat them, but like they haven't really been challenged in any other of their games. So they play each other later this month in the Champions League, and if Bayern walk over that again, then Bayern are the best team in Europe. Obviously, you didn't expect them to win the Champions League. But at the end of the day, it's not Bayern's problem to care about why they keep winning. But it does become a problem if they keep winning and make no inroads in the Champions League, because then there's no justification for what they're doing, and it's a bit like, oh, they're flat track bullies basically. But then part of Bayern's dominance is also down to the other teams adopting a selling model. Dortmund, Leipzig, Leverkusen, and to a lesser extent Frankfurt and Stuttgart all sell their best players when they see the money. I mean, Dortmund are no longer in a position to worry about their finances, but they continue to adopt the buy low, sell high model, but with the players they've brought in to maybe try and win a title, similar to how Leverkusen have done it, they're not really at the level you need at the moment to go toe-to-toe with Bayern. I mean, Niklas Süle, Marcel Sabitzer, in a way Voldemar Anton, they bring in these players, Rami Benzobaini, they bring in these players who are just not that good enough to bridge the gap, to allow them to go with Bayern. And as you can see with Bayern's current form, with Dortmund's current form, is they are greater than the sum of their parts. But they have no standout players who can really take a hold of the game when need to. Look at last night, for example, against Manchester City, where they just struggled to do anything in front of goal because they couldn't create anything, because none of their players that they played with are creative enough. And I've said it beforehand that they have these, you need a creative player who will do the running as well and can complement Serhou Guirassy and Karim Adeyemi, but right now they don't have that, and that was obvious against Manchester City. So these kind of limit Dortmund in a way. Leipzig have no financial problems as they're owned by Red Bull, but they still continue to use this model and have never looked to properly challenge for a title since their promotion, despite having the likes of Christopher Nkunku, Dominik Szoboszlai, Dani Olmo, Xavi Simons, Benjamin Sesko, Josko Vardiol, Larissa Pender on the books at some point. They've never been able to mount a proper challenge. Granted, that may have been hindered by their coaching choices. I mean, since Nagelsmann left, they've had Jesse Marsch, Dominika Tedesco, Marco Rose, and now Ole Werner. None of them are standout managers, or they were, but their stock fell while at Leipzig. And so the aim of constantly flipping the players means you never end up being able to build the core need to win a title. I mean, Leverkusen is slightly different since they won the title with building a team to win one, but literally all of the players have now left and they've kind of reverted back to type of just investing all their money in all these young players. And then Frankfurt and Stuttgart also have the capabilities to win the league. I mean, the size of the club, the area, their history, but they've struggled in the past decade, somewhat so with even staying in the league, and so still playing catch up with everyone else. I mean, Stuttgart are the team that have came closest to looking like a challenger of some sort. I mean, they finished second in the year that Leverkusen won the season and they won the Pokal. But as a whole, as things stand, there's a 10-year gap between Bayern and the other clubs. I mean, you need Bayern to falter for over 10 years for these clubs to then close the gap. Now, obviously, we're approaching a crossroads for Bayern. Behind the scenes, what happens when Karl-Heinz Rummenigge and Uli Hoeneß step aside? Either this is going to take the club to a new level, or it's just going to collapse completely. But if clubs, other Bundesliga clubs, want to actually challenge for the title, they need to be proper football clubs and not just businesses. And they have to start putting in the work of trying to build a title-winning team instead of just hoping that Bayern have an off year one season. So, is Bayern winning the league constantly good for the league, and with the manner how they're doing it as well? No, absolutely not. I mean, you see what happened with PSG. What happened with Liga is never going to happen to the Bundesliga, because the Bundesliga is quite smart with its money and it just doesn't throw it into a hole to try and fix things. Basically, in 50 years' time, the Bundesliga will still be standing. Whether the other leagues are is a completely different question. The league needs to be marketed better away from Bayern globally. If you can show the charm and what's good about the other teams globally, then it will encourage people to watch it and care about the stuff that just doesn't happen at the top, instead of people just going and saying, oh, Bayern are winning, and so I won't care. But at the end of the day, it's not just a Germany problem either. It's all around Europe, apart from in Serie A, which has managed to recover because Juventus spent all the money in trying to sign Ronaldo, and they've basically been a rut ever since. I mean, on that, the Premier League, since Manchester City started winning consistently, it's only had two winners, Manchester City and Liverpool. La Liga is a 2-horse race. Sometimes it's a 3. Liga is just consistently PSG. But Serie A has obviously become competitive with having Napoli, Inter, AC Milan, Juventus all winning the league, and then you even have like Roma at the top at this current moment as well. As I said previously, Bayern are just a well-run club, and other clubs haven't been well-run. The challenges haven't been well-run at some point, and that's allowed them to create this gap. And to close that gap again, you need to try and make up for it in other ways. What doesn't help is the amount of money Bayern get from everything. I mean, the top of the table in the TV money, which should be shared more equally, and they get loads of money from the Champions League because they're in it so regularly. So that doesn't help either. But if you want to grow the Bundesliga, you have to start showing the interest in the other teams as well. Because if you start showing the other interest in other teams as well, then more people will take a charm to it and start paying more attention, and then it will grow from there. But if you constantly keep centering attention on Bayern and Dortmund, then it's just the status quo is going to continue. And if you have constantly like money grabbing things like the Club World Cup, which will, if it continues, decimate the league, because it will just keep inviting Bayern and Dortmund every single edition, and they'll get all this money time and time again, just growing the gap even further, then it'll just be like, what's the point? What's the point in playing the Bundesliga when it's just the same 2 teams over and over again? But at the end of the day, is it bad for the league? Yes. Is it Bayern's problem? Not really, no. But it will become Bayern's problem when it just keeps getting worse and worse, and they never get challenged in the league. And if they never get challenged in the league, then they're never going to get better. And if they never get better, then they'll have no chance of winning the Champions League again. And plus, then they'll struggle to start to attract people, because as the Premier League bubble gets bigger and bigger and bigger, they won't even be able to afford good players. I mean, they're already at the limit now, but it will get worse as the bubble of the Premier League gets bigger. And at some point, they'll probably be competing with Luton to trying to sign a player for 50 million. So let me know what you think. Is Bayern winning the league constantly actually good? If you say that, you're an idiot. Or how bad is it? Or just what do you think about the topic?